Hi, I'm Grace Bryant with Be Whole, Be Happy, helping you be whole and happy in your relationships, intimacy, and life. Today, I want to offer a short teaching on the difference between coping and letting go. This is something that's become very obvious to me. I had an incredible experience a couple months ago of having an anxiety attack, a panic attack. And it wasn't brought on by anything specific. I was actually in a retreat, not surrounded by anyone. There was nothing that was causing me anxiety. So it was obvious that it was in my mind. And immediately I went to my coping mechanisms. So I went to my calming breath and affirmation practice and tried to just cope with it. And it felt a little bit better after a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes. But at a certain point, I realized that I had the choice to just let it go. And that might seem way out of the field of possibility, but hopefully over the next couple of minutes, I'll offer some tools as to how that's really possible. That instead of just employing our coping mechanisms and our coping strategies, which work and which help for a time, we can actually let go of the source of our pain. We can actually let go of the suffering itself. We all have triggers. We all have things that bring up our patterns of stress and anxiety or depression, fear, worry. Whatever those mechanisms are for you, they're real. And by saying they're real, I mean that they really exist within the body. At some point, something happened that caused the body to go into a fight or flight response, to go into a sympathetic nervous system response. And then that created a story in the mind. And what happens now is that however many days or weeks or months or years later, since that original stressor, that original trigger happened, the mind is now convinced that we need to go back into that sympathetic response every time that happens. As an example, when I was little, across the street was a family that had big dogs. And to me, very small, these dogs seemed ferocious. And whenever I left my front door, they would often run into our driveway barking and scaring the crap out of me. And so for the next 30 years, I was deathly afraid of any dog who would run up to me barking, even if it was a little dog, even if I knew that it wasn't going to cause me any harm. But there was a response inside my body that was programmed to freeze when that happened. So at this point in my life, say I'm 30 years old, I know that I'm not in physical danger. But the mind still believes that, and the mind still tricks my nervous system into thinking that. And so here are a couple of things that we can do to start to actually let go of that pattern. Again, instead of just coping, and I'm sure you have coping mechanisms if you have patterns of anxiety and worry and maybe post-traumatic stress or depression. Certainly things, breathing practices, count backwards from 10, pause, take a sip of water, notice and mindfulness practice in the bodies. These are all great, great coping strategies. But to actually let go of the programming, to actually let go of the conditioning of fear that's bringing up these states, here's a couple things we can do. Number one is to accept. Accept. Part of the reason that these patterns become so prolonged is that we resist. I don't want to be in anxiety. I don't want to be in this flight response. And so I close up. And what is just an energy that really can flow gets stuck. So number one, accept, allow this to be. And it may seem incredibly scary, either hearing it or in the moment when it's happening. I don't want to allow this to be. Allowing it to be doesn't mean you're saying I'm not going to learn how to change it. But it says I'm going to let this moment be as it is without resistance. And this opens up a world of freedom, just accepting what is as it is right now. From this place, we have the freedom to choose what to do next. And what to do next is to relax physically. So you may not be able to relax the mind. When I'm having a panic attack, it's very difficult to relax my mind, but I can relax my body. I can let go of that tension that creeps up in my neck and my shoulders. I can relax my jaw. I can relax my hips, my buttocks, my thighs. I can breathe into the body and relax. A lot of traditions say that energy lives in our fascia, or our connective tissue. And our connective tissue is this web that connects everything in our whole body. So when we're relaxing physically, according to these traditions, we're also allowing energy to start to move. And sometimes that's energy that's been locked or blocked for months, weeks, years, decades, lifetimes. So number one, we allow. And number two, we physically relax. Physically relax. Number three is to let it move. Let it move. Let the fear move. Let the stress move. Notice where it's blocked up in your body and let it move. And I have a mantra or an affirmation. I say, it's just energy, let it flow. It's just energy, let it flow. So realize whatever this is an energy of some kind. And this leads into number 4, which is to let go of the identification with this energy. To let go of the identity. And you can ask the question, who am I? You can take a wider perspective. You can remind yourself that you are love, that you are peace, that you are balance. But let go of the identity. So we let this thing move in our body by relaxing, and then we recognize, I am not that. I am not my anxiety. Who am I? I am not my anxiety. I just am. I just exist in a state of being. So this helps to have a wider perspective, to zoom back from whatever that trigger is and whatever the response in our body from that trigger is. Number 5 is be patient and allow your nervous system time to reset. If this is a pattern of programming that you've had for a long time, your body needs time. Integration, shift in the body is a slow process. And while we can learn how to really catch the mind and become mindful and notice, the mind went to that place of trigger. The thing happened, whatever the impulse was, and then my mind triggered. Well, my body is already 10 steps ahead, going through all of these nervous system responses. So we have to give the body time to unwind, time to unlock. If you can, pause whatever you're doing, pause the conversation that you're in, pause the television show or the movie, turn off your phone, and give your body some time. And the last piece of this is don't dramatize. The mind is going to want to attach to whatever this is and make it bigger. This is the job of the mind. This is the job of the ego. It's going to create a story and a loop and a pattern about how you are the victim of this thing. And this is what causes this pattern to go on a loop indefinitely. So don't dramatize. Let yourself feel the feelings, feel the emotions, but don't let the mind dramatize or go into more and more stories. So I hope this helps clarify the difference between coping and letting go. And I would love to hear your comments if you're able to apply this in your life. Let me know how it works for you. Have a beautiful day.